Elon Musk and Tesla just confirmed huge news, and this has huge implications for Tesla because this is the first ever FSD video which was recorded in Australia by the Tesla team released to the public, indicating that FSD is coming soon to Australia. And on top of that, it's not just Australia. This post here was reposted by Elon Musk himself, confirming this news, basically that Tesla is doing all these tests in France, and this is the most difficult, toughest roundabout that you can find in France and maybe in all of Europe even. So the most difficult roundabout in all of Europe has been solved by Tesla, which to me is a clear indication that Tesla is going to be releasing FSD in Europe and that the regulatory challenges are being worked on. And do you remember what happened when Tesla basically announced, or when we learned that Tesla is going to be releasing FSD in China? Do you remember what happened to the stock? It jumped over 15% in one single day. And this was about a year ago. Now, I'm not saying that Tesla stock is going to jump 15% in one single day after FSD gets approved in Europe. However, what I am saying is it is definitely a huge milestone for Tesla, and over a longer period of time, I think it will go up a lot more than 15% just because it will be released in Europe and maybe in a few other markets like Australia. Because it seems like in Europe, actually, FSD will first be allowed to be used on highways and not cities, and only later it will be allowed to be used in the cities as well. And then one more reason why this is such a big deal is because if Tesla FSD works well in Europe, then that proves that indeed, if Tesla can make it work in one place, basically Tesla can make it work anywhere. And certainly an official approval of FSD in other countries, that could spark a new bull run, maybe potentially increasing the value of Tesla stock by 50 or 100 or even more percent over a more longer period of time, just because of the approvals in Europe and other countries. We don't have a timeline for Australia, but for Europe, we should expect to see some sort of changes around maybe September, and before the end of the year, we should see at least something, at least highways. And also expect to see a lot more testing by the Tesla team in Europe. From these videos, it does seem like FSD in Europe is going to work pretty well. And then another big difference between the Chinese market and the European market is that the European consumers, they do have more disposable income to spend on such a thing as FSD subscriptions or just buying FSD outright, which the Chinese consumers have not been super big on yet. So FSD approval in Europe would not just be a symbolic milestone that Tesla would be reaching. No. We're talking about actual increased revenue and profits. And look, after this news was released, it's not just me celebrating, Steve Mark Ryan is celebrating. It's really the whole community celebrating, including the Tesla team. Ashok here, who's basically in charge of Tesla's FSD development, he's saying end-to-end continues to scale now for right-hand drive. And one reason why it's so dangerous to trade Tesla stock short-term is because things happen really slowly at Tesla, but then after things happening slowly for years, it just all comes together all at once, and you don't want to be out of Tesla stock when that happens. Also, FSD did something incredible here in Australia. There's a local thing that they call a hook turn. So a hook turn, see, there's transit on the right side and we are going to turn right, but we are not on the lane that's the most right. We are sort of a bit more left, and there were other people passing by, like for example this scooter or whatever that was. So it's a bit of a local thing in Australia that's unique to Australia. And the reason why they work this way is because you don't want transit to slow down, because if you're turning right and there's someone or something blocking your turn, the transit can still go ahead without being obstructed. Actually, Australians did a really good job with that. Oh, and it says that often you need to cross multiple lanes to complete a right turn with a hook turn. So not just one lane, but multiple lanes. At this point, I don't think there's much debating that Tesla FSD can work everywhere in the world. I think if you use FSD, it becomes apparent to you. Now, Tesla, of course, will have some localization, but overall, generally, if the model gets better, it gets better everywhere. We also got people testing the latest FSD version, v13.2.9, and the initial videos that I've seen were pretty good. There's also a change with the cabin camera, but sensitivity has been turned down, which Omar says is now a lot less annoying with this new version, and Shook even says it was much needed. I personally didn't have any issues really, although I did notice the moment I look away sometimes, yeah, it's a bit sensitive. And Sawyer actually got to test the latest FSD version. He drove for 2 hours using it with 0 critical disengagements. Part of the drive was in the rain and part of it was dry. And while cruising on the highway, he says, I kind of just leaned back and thought, damn, I just completed a 2-hour trip and the car drove itself the entire time without needing to be taken over. We kind of take these things for granted once we get used to them. And I personally, yesterday and the day before, I drove about 40 minutes each day or about an hour, 0 critical disengagements. The only interventions that I have is pressing the accelerator pedal sometimes just to go a little faster, not for any safety reason, but just for, I just want to get to my destination a little faster and I don't mind accelerating a bit faster. And sometimes I just nudge it to change to a different lane. Sawyer continues here. I know FSD has been around for years, but the latest version is really good and it was still pretty wild today watching the car navigate traffic, handle rain, steer away from semi-trucks, smoothly go through roundabouts, merge on and off highways, and even take blind turns all on its own. One thing that I do notice on V13.2.8, so the version before this one, I hope it's going to be gone with this one, but I'm not so sure. Even if visibility is great with stop signs, sometimes it still does a double stop with great visibility. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens often enough that it's a bit annoying. And for this behavior, I think someone flashed their lights at me. They didn't honk, but they did flash their lights. Tesla is close to achieving what they have been working toward for years, yet most people either don't realize how far along this is or they choose to downplay it. The coming months will be fun, and I would add not even just the coming months, but the coming years with the FSD getting better and the Tesla bot being able to dance and soon probably do some very basic work. I think we are in for some big treats with Tesla stock in the next few years and certainly long term. And it's incredible what FSD is able to do already. I mean, look at how FSD is handling tight roads like this. This is insane. There's literally no space on the left side or the right side. There's nothing, and yet it's handling itself very well. And here's Omar driving the latest FSD version from the Hollywood Hills to downtown LA, and it's rush hour traffic too. You can see the traffic later in the video. And here's certainly some good news driving Tesla stock up. JP Morgan Chase increased its stake in Tesla by 9.5%, which is 3.43 million shares in Q1 of this year, a new record high according to a new 13F filing with the SEC. So we got big funds buying Tesla stock. What is a little bit funny though is that JP Morgan cut their Tesla stock price target on Tesla shares on March 12th. But they did buy more stock in the quarter, and here we got some definitely good news. The Texas governor just signed into law new corporate protections, including provisions making it harder for shareholders to file lawsuits in Texas against publicly traded companies like the one that blocked a pay package for Elon Musk. If all of the shareholders want to sue a company, I think there is no issue with that. But if someone that holds something like 7 shares wants to sue the company, I don't know. I think there should be something there that would make it a bit harder. This is assuming that most of the shareholders are strongly against whatever the lawsuit is, which in this case of Elon Musk, the absolute majority of Tesla shareholders were totally on his side. It wasn't even like 50%. No, it was well over 75-ish% even. Specifically, it was 77%. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this number actually excludes Elon Musk's share. So if you include Elon Musk's shares, obviously the number is going to be much higher. CNN here, for example, reported that 84% of the shareholders approved the Elon Musk compensation package in 2024. So it just depends who you exclude. You will get a different number depending on who you exclude. And here's some more big news for Tesla stock investors. You definitely want to pay attention here. Tesla will add a new board member. This board member is a Chipotle executive, Jark Hartung. He will also be on the audit committee in June. Over the past 20 years, under Jack's financial leadership, Chipotle has seen significant growth with over 3,700 restaurants today across the US, Canada, and the UK, as well as France, Germany, and a few other countries. Jack was even named CFO of the Year by Orange County Business Journal and Best CFO in the restaurant category by institutional investors. Jack will be retiring from his executive role on June 1st and transition to a senior advisor role with Chipotle, and Jack now is going to be serving as a board of directors for a few companies such as Portillo's Inc., The Honest Company Inc., and Zogdog Inc., as well as Tesla, of course. He will become a member of the Tesla board on June 1st officially of this year. Ross Gerber here has a prediction. I think it's worth paying attention to this one. He predicts that Denon, who is the chair of the Tesla board, is done and Elon becomes the chairman of the Tesla board. On another note, great not to have negative DOGE headlines for 2 weeks now, he says. Tesla sales are down big time while trying to launch a cab service with software and hardware that basically doesn't work yet. But Elon is back to work at Tesla. To me, Ross Gerber is a bit on the extreme. When you hear from Ross Gerber, especially when some new board member is appointed, you got to remember that Ross actually tried to get on the board of Tesla and he failed miserably. And then Electric, ooh, they have quite an article. Elon Musk hires another Tesla board member to cash checks and let him destroy the brand. Thread from Electric definitely is getting some heat from the Tesla community. Even Sawyer here says Tesla hires an independent board of directors member and Fred is still mad. But I want to see what Fred's arguments here are. I certainly would say that the Tesla board overall, some of them are pretty close to Elon Musk or fairly close, or at least we could call them friends, which does it make them really truly 100% independent? I personally would think that largely the board is not really all that independent. I mean, there's literally Elon's brother on the board. And just to be clear, I have no issues at all with that. I do want Elon to have control, and I do want Elon to steer the company in a direction that he thinks is best in the long term. And if the rumors are right, indeed, the board overall did push back against Elon spending a lot of time at the White House by even maybe asking around for a potential replacement of Elon Musk. But that was all just a rumor, and I think that rumor had more to do with succession planning in a case that something bad happens to Elon Musk instead of actually looking for a replacement. I don't think the board actually wanted to replace Elon Musk. It was just a plan B just in case something happens to Elon Musk. And we know that the Tesla board right now is actively looking at possible options of creating a new compensation package for Elon Musk. And with this new board member having a very strong financial background, I am pretty sure that this new board member will have a strong role to play when it comes to designing this new compensation package. And I personally think it's important to pay attention to any possible negatives about this new board member. And if anyone is going to find them, it's going to be Fred Lambert from Electric. So let's see if he actually found anything of substance. First of all, he points out that he has no automotive background. Electric does point out that the Tesla board basically remained silent when Elon Musk threatened Tesla shareholders that he would not develop AI products at Tesla unless given a larger, more controlling share of the company. But I'm pretty sure there were talks held privately. Electric points out that the board has been overcompensated, meaning that the shareholders sued the board members and the board members agreed to return and cancel about $1 billion in compensation. This actually happened. The Tesla board also sold a lot more Tesla stock than purchased. The first purchase ever in like the last 5 years or so was by Joe Gebbia. It was a tiny amount relative to his net worth. He's a multi-billionaire and he bought a few $1 million worth of Tesla stock, I think. Now, Tesla, in his disclosure of having added this new board member, Tesla claimed that his only connection to Tesla or the board is a son-in-law who works at Tesla, who is compensated about $124,000 per year. But, and I think this is a very valid point from Fred, Tesla didn't disclose that Hartung knows Kimball Musk, Elon's brother and a longtime board member. Kimball was on Chipotle's board from 2016 to 2019 when Hartung was a top executive at the company. So while there is a small possibility that Kimball wouldn't know this new board member directly, I think that's quite unlikely. So according to AI here, Kimball Musk was a board member of Chipotle for 6 years. Is this new Tesla board member capable? I think he is very capable. Overall, I have no issues with him at all, but would I call him a truly independent director on the board? No way. Even if he is, let's say, truly 100% independent, the optics are just not very good. In a way, you could say that Kimball Musk was not really a boss of him for 6 years, but sort of. And again, I have no issues at all. If anything, I actually like that he does know Kimball Musk and therefore probably by extension Elon Musk. To me, it's actually a positive. I just wouldn't go so far as to call him completely 100% independent. Absolutely, definitely no. Unless it somehow turns out that they were at odds with each other while both of them were at Chipotle. Here's some more Tesla news. Tesla has shared new tidbits of information during a session with Wall Street analysts led by investment relations head Travis Axelrod. Tesla wants to offer investors tours of low-scale manufacturing by Q4 this year. Tesla is still on track to launch its Robotaxi service in Austin. Initial fleet of 10 to 20 cars will be invite only at first. Now, they didn't specify the date here, but when they say on track, I assume they mean June. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if a delay happened, but so far it's looking good. Tesla can currently make 12 Optimus robots at a time on the second floor of Fremont. Production capacity is currently 1,000 per month. The second gen line is targeting 10,000 per month. The third generation line, 10 times the second gen line. So Tesla wants to build thousands of robots by the end of the year. Oh, and check this out. This sort of makes sense. Neural nets for Optimus are far larger than the ones for their cars. Tesla Dojo 2 comes out in 2026, will be more efficient than Dojo 1 and cheaper than comparable NVIDIA solution. However, not expected to be one-for-one as competitive to NVIDIA. Dojo 3, on the other hand, expected to come out in 2028. The company thinks it can narrow the performance cap for application-specific integrated circuit. Tesla believes that 10xing their computer and acquiring much cheaper chips could result in a major unlock. A bit more news about the new Tesla board member. He has voluntarily declined both cash and stock compensation for his new board member role for now. He and the rest of the board have waived any further stock or stock option compensation until the board decides on new terms for equity compensation in the future. Jack can change his decision later to not take any cash compensation by notifying Tesla. To me, that does sound quite weird, so I definitely want to dig into this a bit deeper. Why wouldn't you not take money? You're not working for the government here. You're doing this to make money or to build your career further out. Here's what Sawyer thinks about this. Number one, in January of this year, several board members agreed to return over $900 million in cash and stock to resolve a lawsuit challenging their compensation. So this could be perhaps more about not him not wanting to take compensation, but just him being afraid that he would be sued. So the board maybe said, hey, we're going to work out a new way to compensate us that is not going to result in a lawsuit, and once we are good with that, then you can accept your compensation. That does make sense to me. Number two, they could want to focus on getting Elon his new compensation package before they figure out theirs. That definitely makes sense to me. The Elon compensation package appeal process is still ongoing, and we won't know the outcome of that until late this year. So there's a lot of uncertainty there as well. I would just personally definitely like some clarity from the board itself why this happened. Because for me personally, if I see someone work for a company where they do need to work and they are not getting paid in cash, money, or stocks, there's something else that's going on, and usually that something else is not something that's beneficial to shareholders. So I personally assume and hope that the reason for this is because the board simply is trying to prevent future lawsuits, and the compensation is going to be agreed on a little bit later. Otherwise, we definitely want to pay attention a lot of attention to this. And here's some good news overall for investors. PPI inflation fell to 2.4%, which is below expectations of 2.5%. Lower inflation means more likely we are going to get lower interest rates, and that pushes the whole stock market higher. That also makes it easier to sell vehicles. The CEO of Google is giving some serious praise to Elon Musk. He says his ability to will future technologies into existence is unparalleled. And he's not speaking just as an observer from the sidelines. He says he spent some time with Elon 2 weeks ago. James just did a breakdown of what he thinks Tesla's Robotaxi in Austin are going to do. And James with FSD, often he's a bit pessimistic, but he has been very accurate when it comes to predicting Tesla's earnings. He has done a very good job with that. Often he is the #1 retail analyst with the most accurate predictions when it comes to Tesla's earnings. So if you do want to look at financials, I think he's a pretty decent person to analyze. And even with his predictions, strongly undercutting Uber, he actually eventually comes to a conclusion that Tesla's operation is actually going to be profitable from basically the moment Tesla opens this business. He estimates that Tesla's gross margin would be about 23%, with many ways to improve. For example, automating charging, reducing remote operators, reducing roadside assistance, reducing vehicle production costs, reducing vehicle downtime. So even James, who has been a bit of a skeptic when it comes to Tesla's FSD and all of that, his analysis doesn't really look, I wouldn't say it's negative. Check this out. Waymo has recalled 1,200 vehicles in the US after minor collisions with chains, gates, and other roadway barriers. And by recall, they really just mean a software update. There's a story from Reuters which is getting some attention. Musk took leased cars back so Tesla could use them as robotaxis. Instead, Tesla sold them. Okay, this is not really news, is it? They even said this is an exclusive. What? Oh, one thing that Tesla did when they would get these cars back, when they would come back after they were no longer leased, they would not just upgrade software with the latest software updates, but they would actually add the $2,000 option, which is the acceleration boost. And they would also sometimes add FSD, even if that lease car did not have FSD. So Tesla has this new cabin radar. This cabin radar can detect the presence of people inside the vehicle and use the measurements to determine occupancy. Cabin radar supports certain vehicle and safety features, including driver detection, seat occupancy, occupant classification system, and auto parking brake engagement. And the radar is right here. Tesla just started a new program that gives a $1,000 discount off any new Tesla to verified students, teachers, first responders, military veterans, retirees, active duty members, their spouses, and surviving spouses. Earlier, Tesla only offered a military discount. Herbert is really praising this retail Tesla stock investor. He says he called $450 back in November, and now he's back doubling down on a $1,000 price target by the end of this year. Hey guys, remember Jeremy? He sold 100% of his Tesla stock on April 23rd-ish, $253 per share, I guess. And he just made this post. Tesla's over $300 now. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Dude, I'm not mad. No, seriously, I'm not mad. I swear I'm not mad. No way, Jose, not mad. It's not just over $300 per share. It's now $348 per share. Ooh, he missed out on some big gains. But I can certainly respect someone admitting, oh, I made a mistake. I can respect that. And Stephen Mark Ryan, when Jeremy sold his Tesla stock, I think Stephen Mark Ryan made his longest video ever. If not the longest, it's one of the longest ever. 1 hour, 53 minutes. That is a long video. Neuralink now has its third patient. His name is Brad Smith. I think the next 10 years, there will be some big changes at Neuralink. That company, I think, is going to do pretty well. Overall, today, it's good news for Tesla stock. It's up a little bit while I'm recording this video, about an hour before the markets close. And I personally believe that Tesla stock is going to $1,000 per share. And then after that, well above it. My name is Matt Posius. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I will see you in the next video, probably on Monday. If not Monday, then Wednesday. If not Wednesday, then probably Friday. I'm still traveling, so just bear with me for maybe one more week or so. At the end of next week, I will be home.